We can now bring in our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons. Rob, good afternoon. Over the weekend, we had the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said phase 2 of this military operation is underway. The ground invasion has not officially begun, but there are incursions taking place.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the difference between these incursions and a ground offensive is going to be. I'm not sure that anybody really knows. It'll be a gradual thing, but certainly the ground operations are now taking place, and that's I think what is meant by this. We know that the Israeli armed forces, the IDF, have been attacking northern Gaza from 4 different directions. There have been reports, for instance, that a tank and an armoured bulldozer have cut the road that goes down from Gaza City in the north down to southern Gaza, and apparently have been firing on cars in the area. More recent reports say that tank may now have withdrawn, but there had been fighting between Israeli tanks in the area, which is a district of Gaza called Zaytun. 130,000 people lived there before this conflict started. How many live there now, nobody really knows, but it's far less than that, I would imagine. The Hamas says it has been fighting Israelis in that area and that they appear to have withdrawn now. But what we're seeing is quite clearly a build-up by the Israeli armed forces in the north of Gaza, particularly around Gaza City, which is where Hamas military operations have been concentrated. And I imagine that is the intention of the Israelis, to go after Hamas in the north of Gaza.
Stay with us, Rob, because 4 Palestinians have been killed during an early morning Israeli raid in the West Bank city of Jenin. According to officials, over 100 military vehicles and 2 bulldozers were used in the operation. Tensions have been on the rise in the West Bank since the war with Hamas broke out in Gaza. Since January, nearly 330 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank. Rob, of course, the world's attention is focused on what is going on in Gaza, but at the same time, these raids continue in the West Bank. Tensions heightened over there, and these settler attacks have been taking place.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise that tensions have heightened in the West Bank, because of it's a response to what's happening in Gaza at the moment. The tensions have clearly increased, and the number of incidents involving you mentioned settlers for one thing, but also the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and groups, Palestinian groups in the West Bank have been ticking up. You mentioned over 300 people killed in the West Bank by Israeli forces and settlers since the beginning of the year. 115 have been killed since October the 7th. So it's already, even before October the 7th, it was already, by the standards of the West Bank, it was already very hot in terms of conflict between the Israeli armed forces and Palestinian groups. It's now got even hotter still as a consequence of events in Gaza. At least 4 people have been killed in the recent clashes, as you point out, involving 100 armed vehicles going in, including two armed bulldozers, and I think interestingly too, drones. Military drones were used to attack Palestinian positions. The Israelis speak of killing several what they call armed terrorists, without being more precise than that. But clearly, things are ticking up quite fast in the West Bank as well, and that will create potentially a problem for the Israelis.